Hello everyone and welcome to Chef Shelley's Kitchen. So you know how I love having guests. We are really excited and privileged to have Jason Sauter join us today. Jason and I work together and I thought about having him cook something because I found out he's like a cookie cooker extraordinaire. During the United Way campaign. So he actually prepared some cookies and sold them. Do you remember what the highest bidder was on those cookies?
I don't know. They were gone in 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Because I did my coconut cake.
Yep.
And so I've already heard there's going to be a bidding war come next year. So his cookies, not only do they look good, taste good, I mean, the presentation is just amazing. And I love the packaging. And we'll talk a little bit about the packaging kind of in the end. So why don't you tell us what you're making for us and how you came up with this recipe?
Sure. So today we're going to be making some pretty rich, decadent chocolate chip cookies. This is my grandmother's recipe back from the early 1900s. Wow. And so it's got a lot of what I would consider complicated ingredients. I am used to taking a box and throwing it in a bowl and mixing it. And this has multiple flours, but it's really quite easy to make. And it's one that a lot of people will talk about.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to it. So what do we need to do to get started? And let me know what I can do to help.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to make these cookies kind of in 2 steps. And the first step is going to be mixing all of our dry ingredients. So what you'll see up here, there's 2 different types of flour. There's cake flour and there's bread flour. And that'll serve as the base. And we'll mix that with some salt, some baking powder, and some baking soda. So
before you go on, talk a little bit about, most people don't know the difference between cake flour and other flours. So talk a little bit about the difference, and can you buy that at a regular store?
Yeah, so you can get cake flour and bread flour at like Walmart, or you can go to your grocery store. Cake flour is a little bit harder to find. It's usually in a box. I use Swan's as the brand. That works quite nice. And then I usually try to use an unbleached organic bread flour.
Nice.
And those 2 ingredients just work quite well for baking. So you wouldn't use those things in something like a breading for a chicken.
Okay.
It's really for cookies and cakes.
Not for fried chicken.
Yeah.
Okay, not for fried chicken. Exactly. Oh, well. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to look for those next time because I really had never heard of cake flour before. Mm-hmm. So that was new for me.
Me either. I thought, what is my grandmother thinking?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Pretty cool. So
I think the first thing that we'll do is we'll mix the flours. So Shelley, if you just want to grab that, this is the bread flour.
Okay.
And so
you want it in here, or
we'll put it in this bowl here. This is about 1 2/3 cups.
Okay.
And then we'll take the cake flour here.
Okay.
This is about 2 cups of cake flour, and then we'll just use the spoon to kind of mix the 2 together.
Cool.
And then once we do that, we're just going to add in some baking soda and some baking powder. So these are part of the dry ingredients that'll go along with it.
Okay.
So as you're mixing that, I will add a couple of things in here.
Okay, awesome.
And then with the baking soda, you're going to do about 1 1/4 teaspoons, and then a little bit more on the baking powder. Now, all of these will be in the comment section of the video, so don't worry about writing it down.
Don't worry about it. Just go to the comments and everything will be listed right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can never keep up when people are telling me how many ingredients to put in things.
And I tell you, and my dad, when I have my dad on the show, he usually says a dab of this, a pinch of that. And
I'm a little more precise.
Yeah. And I get comments from, particularly, and they'll even call themselves out and say, I remember I had a viewer that said, I'm a Gen X or, something like that, or Gen Y. I need to have the exact measurements, right? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so one of the things that you saw me do as Shelley was mixing is I just added some Himalayan sea salt. You can use any type of coarse salt, but I like Himalayan sea salt. It adds a little extra.
Yeah, why is that? Because I'm seeing a lot more people. We had Shannon on the show, and that was kind of my first introduction to Himalayan salt, and I went to the store after that to, kind of learn more. But why do you use it over
I think it's got
salt?
Yeah, it's got more flavor.
Okay.
And if you read research on fitness professionals and dietitians these days, they say if you're going to use salt, use Himalayan sea salt. It's a more natural source.
Okay.
But I am no scientist for salt.
Okay.
But
awesome.
It's good. Okay, so that's all mixed. We're going to kind of keep that off to the side, and then the next thing that we're going to do is mix our wet ingredients. So we're going to take our two different types of sugars. So we've got kind of our light brown sugar here.
Okay.
And so we'll just kind of throw that in the mixer. And then the second component that we're going to do is we're going to utilize granulated sugar. So we'll throw that in with the light brown sugar. And then you're going to just mix your unsalted butter. So this works best in this type of recipe when it's at room temperature. So I try not to melt it. I try not to come it right out of the refrigerator. It'll make the cookies too thick. So this has just been sitting out overnight, and then it peels right off.
And do you use, they come in unsalted versus salted. Do you have a preference for one versus the other?
Yes, that's a good suggestion. I use unsalted butter.
Okay.
And you might think, why does that make a difference, Jason? Because at the end, you're going to see me add all this salt to the top of the cookies. But that's the accent that people will taste immediately. But if you add too much in the ingredients, it's a little overpowering.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
So while that's in there, we're just going to mix this and let it mix for about 30 to 45 seconds.
Okay.
And then we'll add in some components like vanilla and eggs. But we just really want this to be creamed so that it's somewhat of a whipped mixture. It's not too crummy.
Okay.
Okay, so as that's mixing, it's going to kind of have this texture of kind of a light, airy dough. And then what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and add in the 2 eggs.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just go ahead and grab these and let these mix in. So if you look inside the mixer right now, it's kind of a clump of dough. It all kind of joins together depending on what kind of paddle you use. And so as that's mixing, then the next thing that we'll do is we'll just add in some vanilla.
So one thing I know about Jason is he is very healthy. So to see you making cookies is a very big surprise. How many of the cookies do you eat?
I just try to give them away. so I will make cookies for friends and neighbors, but I may lick the spoon when I'm done. I try not to eat too many. It gets to me after a while.
So
perfect. So these are all mixed up now with the vanilla and the eggs.
Nice.
And you'll see it's kind of a goopy consistency, if you will, but that's so that obviously you can add in the dry ingredients. So I usually try to do the dry ingredients, adding in at about 1/4 cup.
Okay.
If you do too much too fast, it just gets too dry because it's a big, thick mixture.
Okay.
So we'll just kind of let this mix for maybe 5 or 10 more seconds, and then I'll just do a couple of spoonfuls in there at a time to let it mix.
Okay.
Working the muscles.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what are some of the other things you enjoy cooking?
I'm a big griller, so I like to grill meats, and I'm always making some type of vegetable every night. So Brussels sprouts is my go-to. I like to roast them and do that kind of stuff.
What do you roast them with?
I just do a little bit of
on the grill. You mean?
Well, I'll do on the grill, or also do like a stir fry, kind of sauteed Brussels sprouts, but I like them really crispy and dark on the outside.
Yeah.
So I usually like the grill. That works best.
We went to a great cooking class. This has been about, maybe 2 years ago, and we made Brussels sprouts with bacon. Like you cook the bacon first. I actually have it out on the site, but you cook the bacon first. And then you put the bacon on the side, and you cook the Brussels sprouts, cut them in half, and cook them in the bacon grease.
Yeah, it's the best.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I used to give my mother a hard time because I would go home for Thanksgiving, and she would just serve like out of the can green beans and stuff. And I thought, what is wrong with you? Like, just go to the grocery store, it's cheaper. And so the next time I came home, she said, well, what's your favorite vegetable? I said, I love Brussels sprouts. It's not that hard. Just roast them in the oven. And she put them on the table, and everybody was thinking, gosh, these are so good. What did you do to them? She says, well, there's maple syrup. I roast. I said, God, you've turned the healthiest thing into something so unhealthy. But
well, I actually tend to use a little like brown sugar, but what I actually cooked them with recently to get away from the sugar was I make like a dates mixture. So just dates
natural
with
sugars.
with it makes a natural sugar. I just put dates pureed in my Vitamix with boiling water, and then I just keep it aside, and if I need something to sweeten it, I just use the date puree.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So yeah, that's kind of like my healthy
There's a
way
lot of
doing
natural
things.
ways to sweeten things now.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're almost done. We've probably got a fourth of a cup left to mix in.
Okay.
But at this point, in the mixture, it just takes a little bit longer to get the dry ingredients in. It's really thick. It sticks to the paddle.
Yeah.
And in this one, we're using kind of the wire cone mixer, so it's kind of all combined in.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to
Speed
take
it up
your
more if you want to.
you'll be able to take your kind of spatula at the end and mix anything that
Okay.
still
Pretty cool.
trying to make it.
Now, you talked about, you got this from your grandma. Now, I know that you're from Texas. Where in Texas?
Dallas Fort Worth.
Okay.
So no tumbleweeds.
Cool. Did I tell you I lived in Plano at one time?
No.
Yes. Oh, God. Texas, well, I'm going to say the Dallas area was truly my favorite place where I lived all over the world.
Oh, really?
I just found it
Why?
because they had the friendliest people.
Yeah, they are.
Now, some of the most dangerous drivers, every morning before I left to go to work or whatever, I would pray that I wouldn't be in an accident because they were very aggressive. And I'm talking about the Dallas area in particular, but very aggressive drivers, and they carried guns.
Yeah.
So
There's a high population of carry in your car, on you.
Yes, exactly.
My brother's a police officer, and we'll go to the Texas Rangers game, and it's a big ordeal because he has to stop and talk to the head of security to let them know he's bringing in his weapon. I said, you just do this for attention.
Yeah.
You don't need this stuff.
I want you to know I'm packing.
Yeah, exactly. He does
Oh my
that.
gosh.
All right, so I think we're at a good spot right now where all of the ingredients are mixed. And so now what we'll do is we'll utilize some 60% cocoa.
So here's the one. They're familiar with this because I use these very same ones.
Oh, yeah.
I love these.
Yeah, so this is the Ghirardelli 60% cocoa, bittersweet chocolate morsels. This just adds like this richness to the cookie, and then when it's counterbalanced by the salt. It's good.
Nice.
So what we'll do is we'll mix this by hand. So we won't throw these into the mixing bowl to have that mix. But usually I'll do about a package. For those of you that are big chocolate lovers, you may add a package and a half. So this is a package and a half. Okay. I don't like that much chocolate. I actually like the dough. So it's really just your preference and what you want. You can always add more. But once we have added the chocolate chips and mixed them in, then what we will do is throw them in a bowl, and then usually we'll let the dough sit inside the refrigerator for about 30 to 45 minutes. My grandmother would say let the dough sit in the refrigerator for 72 hours. So that way all the ingredients start to mix and the flavors are at their prime. But I've let it sit overnight, and it's amazing, and I've let it sit for an hour, and they're still good. So so I don't think I don't know what the 72 hours does.
Okay. Yeah. So what are we gonna let them sit, or we're gonna just go at it?
Yeah, so we're gonna mix this for just a moment, and then we'll just go at it to let you know that it is possible. And then what we do is we'll roll the dough in a way so that it is about a golf ball size.
You want me to empty that? Oh, okay.
So they're large cookies. So I would say about 3/4 of an inch in a circle, and they're intended to be large. Like one cookie is enough.
Okay, yeah.
You're probably.
Do you want me to get the rest of that off?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Is it you're gonna put it in here or there?
In here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just lazy. So, I didn't want to.
Yeah, I don't like to waste.
Well, that's good. That's good.
It's a lot here.
Yeah. That's true. That's probably a cookie.
Yeah, that is a cookie.
That could go in there. So
Maybe we'll take some of these to work.
Oh yeah.
How about that?
That might be good. You know, every time outside of a bake sale when I bring these to work, people give me the guilt trip.
Oh, what do you mean?
Jason, you're trying to make us fat.
Oh, true.
So, again, they're just here. You don't have to eat them.
Oh, true.
But they always get eaten.
Yeah, of course. Okay, there we go.
So I just said I'm not going to use a package and a half, but I think they need a little more.
Okay. Awesome.
So mix that in.
Very nice. Get this stuff out the way. Looks like you need a little bit of elbow, little muscles.
For this one, yeah. It's a really thick batter.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, letting it sit in the refrigerator for just a little bit just thickens it, so it's a lot easier to work with your hands.
You want me to try some? Would
Yeah,
that
so
help for
we
you?
can do that.
Okay, and then I can also just kind of help them to see the consistency. So you can see it's thick.
Yeah, definitely thick.
So yeah, you do need some muscles.
It's a workout too, so you burn calories before you get to consume
Well,
them.
you need to.
Which is good. So it's not the end of the world if you use the KitchenAid to mix it, but you know, there's always the opportunity that chocolate chips will break or crack.
Oh,
I think
true.
we're good, Shelley.
Okay.
So that's good. So normally I would just take like a spoon and just do a scoop.
You want to use this spoon?
And so we'll use that.
Okay.
And so let's just say, for example, I may take a chunk of chocolate chip cookie dough like this and actually add a little bit more. And so when you're rolling these, you're going to think to yourself, oh my gosh, that cookie
They're like
is
the size
huge.
of a meatball, a large meatball.
Yeah, so it's about that size. And
Wow.
then we'll just place it on the rack like that. Okay. And then Shelley, what you can do is on the top of the chocolate chip cookie, if they're cold, then I'll just press them down a little bit so there's some surface
Flatness.
at the top.
Okay.
And then I'll just take a pitch of, this is kind of larger sea salt. This is from Iceland.
Is that about right?
Yep. Okay. So depending on how much sea salt you want, you may do a little bit less than that. For some of you may love all of that. I do.
Okay.
So I like that cookie. And I'll usually place about an inch and a half to 2 inches between the cookies.
Okay.
So on a platter this size, you're probably going to get about 5 to 6 cookies.
Okay.
I don't like my cookies touching, so I usually am a little more conservative with my space. So I may do 5 on here.
Okay.
And then once we get all these rolled out, we're going to stick them in the oven. And
how long do we cook them for?
And it really is dependent on the oven. So if I cook these in my parents' oven back home, it takes about 15 minutes. My oven, it takes about 11 to 12.
Okay.
So I never set the timer for more than 11.
Okay.
And I check it at 11. For me, I like a little bit more of a softer center and a crispy outside. So 11 minutes works good. But if you want it fully cooked through, about probably about 13 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yep. And so they'll come out great. You'll stick them on a wire cooling rack, and then they're ready to enjoy in about 20 to 25 minutes.
Wow. So let's do this then. Let's go on and we'll put them in the oven and we'll turn the camera off and do the rest of them on some other cookie sheets and then come back once they're done.
Sounds good. We'll see you shortly.
We're back.
We are.
Oh my God. These cookies look so professionally done. Amazing, and I cannot wait to dig into one. I'm glad you saved one for me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the oven and how much time and variations in ovens that got us to this point.
Sure. So as you all remember, we set the oven for 350 degrees as a preheat, and we talked that cooking time can vary somewhere between 11 and 13 minutes depending on which oven. You know, for my oven, I know exactly at 11 minutes I can take it out and they're perfect. You know, in Shelley's oven, it was maybe like 11 minutes and 30 seconds. And then you really just have to be cognizant of that and do a test batch of maybe 1 or 2 cookies beforehand. So that way you don't waste a whole batch and say, these are too burnt or too done or not done enough. So typically I'll just place it right onto the pan, a non-stick, non-grease pan. And
this time we use the coconut oil. But you were thinking too that with the coconut, I like to use because it's healthier, but you were thinking that it actually may have cooked it a little faster too.
Yeah, so any type of spray or coconut oil, heats from the bottom, and obviously when you've got such a large cookie, the bottom is the first thing to cook, and then the top starts to settle down into it.
Right.
So I think, a couple of them maybe cooked a little bit faster than I'm used to because of that spray. So maybe next time we do it at 10 minutes, and then it'll still continue to cook when it's on the pan. So once you pull them out, then we just stuck them on a cooling rack, and they
which we have back here. We still have some back here, so just your little cooling rack.
So they just sit on the cooling rack for maybe 10 to 12 minutes. And then you can do several things. You can put them on a platter here and serve them. If you like them warm, these are still warm and somewhat gooey.
I like.
And then for me, I like to let them sit for about an hour because I like a softer cook in the inside. And when it's a little bit warm, it somewhat breaks apart when you eat it too quickly. So about an hour, it's still really soft, but it doesn't crumble because it's not warm. So
I like the gooiness of the chocolate.
Well, yeah. I agree. And then you get to dig in here in just a second.
I know. And so one of the other things that I think is really neat, and I've done this with my chocolate covered pecans and my Oreo truffles. These are great gifts, be it around Christmas. And do you give these out at Christmas time?
Yeah, remember that you said, how many do you eat? I don't eat a lot. So I actually give them away. So I'll put them in like gift boxes like this, or I'll put, like for the bake sale, they wanted them all individually packaged. So you can at the grocery store or like a craft store or Amazon, you can buy like a one cookie cellophane wrapper, and it's got some decorative edges and then a clear circle so that people see the cookie, and just fold them back and tape them, and then people say, wow, this looks like it came from a bakery, and it's like, it came from Shelley's kitchen.
Exactly. So that's a really good point. So you can either use that for the individual ones, or if you're going to give someone a few, you can use, they've got these where you can see through them, or a little smaller one that you seal. And these are actually listed in the comment section, so there are links there that'll take you. So if you're interested in purchasing these, you can get them on Amazon, fairly inexpensive, come in packages of 5 or so. And so just look in the comment section. And then I'll also put the one with the sealable, the plastic ones, because those are pretty nice, because those are really cool. I mean, I love how that looks.
Presentation is you could have the same cookie in 2 different presentations, and people will always draw to something that looks nicer.
Exactly. So is it time for me to try this
Let's
cookie?
go for it.
All right. Awesome. So
and we still left it gooey for you.
Yay!
So it's,
yes, because my finger just pressed down into it.
It's still about about 10 minutes out of the oven.
Here we go.
You taste the sea salt?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. What a nice contrast. The dark chocolate, the sea salt, it's gooey. I'm missing one thing.
What are you missing?
Some milk.
Some milk. Well, that's on next week's episode. How to make your own milk.
Oh, we're not doing that. So that would go great with some great milk, some almond milk.
Because it's a rich cookie.
It's a very rich cookie, and it's so delicious. Well, I want to eat the rest of these. I won't be rude, so I'll wait till off camera, so I won't dive in too much. Just a couple of things. So my cookbook is out on Amazon. If you haven't had a chance to purchase it, again, go to the comment section. It's listed there as well. Very reasonable. A lot of the recipes, certainly not all of them, since I create new ones each time, or I've got guests like Jason that come on. But if you're interested, that's out there. If you have not subscribed to the channel, as always, just click on the circle where my picture is and you can subscribe. Go down to the comment section. You'll get all of the ingredients and the measurements, as I always do, as well as some other featured items that we mention here. Thank you.
Thank you
so much for coming. And I will add that Jason is a faculty facilitator extraordinaire. And he's been at our place of employment, Center for Creative Leadership, for a little over a year now. Just had your anniversary not long ago. And I tell you, being a newbie, I go to him for almost everything, and he's helped me out. So thank you for saving me on some vacation.
I have my own people like that, so I always come to your office. Even if it's just event.
I know. Well, and that's perfectly fine. He did say something the other day that really tickled my heart. Someone was looking for me in the hallway, and so they said, "Where is Shelley's office? Where's Shelley's office?" And one person said, "Oh, just listen for her voice." And then Jason says, "No. What did you say? Listen for her."
I said, just listen for her laugh.
Listen
and
for her
you'll
laugh.
find her.
That's a great thing. I loved it. So thank you again. This has been a real treat. We're going to have some lunch, and then we're going to dive into these cookies. But thanks again for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye.